Joining me right now on Kumite Radio is Juan Adams. He'll be fighting on December 15th at UFC on Fox 31 versus Chris De La Rocha. What's going on, Juan?
Nothing much, man. Just finished my third workout, so living the life.
Definitely, man. You started your professional career June 2017 and ran the table, leading to a UFC contract 13 months later. Put into words what it feels like to accomplish something others take years to do.
Um, it was really hard to express that in words, but because I see guys that I started training with, guys that I looked up to when I first started training, or guys that before I even thought about fighting, when I was just giving privates for wrestling, guys, that have committed, been doing this almost as long as I've been alive, trying to get reach the same goal that I did, and it's weird, now they're coming up to me saying congratulations, asking me for advice and all this other stuff, and so it's really surreal is the best word I can put to it, because it's not necessarily even the big stuff like that, going and seeing guys that have been training MMA or doing striking arts and then had their amateur fights when I was still in college, and so to come out and do it as fast as I did, because we knew I was going to get there quickly. We didn't think it was going to be that quick. So I thought I was going to fight out my LFA contract, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get on the Contender series probably until the following year from what I did. And then even then, we really thought best case scenario, because I'd only had 3 fights up until that, I was going to get a developmental contract. But, I went out there and I did what I needed to do. And part of it's surreal, but the other part is, it was planned. It's not luck. Luck isn't really the proper word for it. We had an opportunity and we were prepared when that opportunity came up. Like today, I trained 3 times today, but I've been training with that same level of intensity since right after my first amateur fight. I've been doing strength and conditioning 4 days a week. I have a striking coach that I go to. At one point, I was driving an hour every day to go work with my striking coach at 6 in the morning. I would go, do all my other jobs, go right back out there at 6 p.m. and work my striking again, because that's what I needed to work to get there. But everyone on my team kind of keeps me real grounded, and you have to humble yourself and know what you need to work on, listen to the people around you, and I did that. So, and it paid off.
Now, going back to that Contender Series contract-winning performance, a key moment I thought in that fight was when Sean Teed had you in a leg lock. How much danger were you in?
Honestly, not that much. So when I first started doing like jiu-jitsu or training it, I went to this place called the Dark Side, and that's all they do is leg locks over there. I mean, they're leg lock specialists in no-gis. So I went there, and I had been caught with that move so many times, so I knew how far I had to go. And honestly, when he sunk it in, I recognized that it wasn't really that deep. And then I was thinking, the hesitation was, okay, which way do I roll? So I started going one way, and it started to hurt. And I'm like, okay, it's the other way. And then I went the other way, and he caught it. Like, he had it for a little bit, and I felt a little pressure on my ankle. But that's when I kind of sat up and shot through. And when you sit up and shoot through, it alleviates that pressure. And, I got the angle I needed to get up and get out. So. But it was all muscle memory and just going, A lot of it's not even knowing what to do. It's just doing something.
Are you still training some of your jiu-jitsu through YouTube tutorials?
Yeah, I do a lot of my jiu-jitsu through YouTube tutorials. I do go once a week to a legit jiu-jitsu class, but the rest of it, I coach high school wrestling. A lot of it is I adapt my wrestling. I look at different submissions common to MMA, and I'm in the heavyweight division. Aside from your very polished grapplers, which I think there's 2 or 3 of them, I'm not super concerned about these guys, doing a lot of the sports jiu-jitsu that they try and teach you in typical classes. So my main coach, Jeremy Laughlin, is a black belt. He's also a heavyweight. So I train that kind of jiu-jitsu. It's more catch wrestling than jiu-jitsu, but I do watch a lot of YouTube on there, so I always know what's out there. And if I see somebody doing something weird, I can recognize it.
You have been gaining a lot of momentum over the last year on top of attention from the public, and you seem to embrace it with a grain of salt. Who keeps you level headed the most in your small circle?
It's definitely got to be my strength and conditioning coach. You know, everybody kind of takes it as their duty. Everyone that's close to me kind of takes it as their duty to want to keep me grounded or be like a humility check for me, because it does get a little ridiculous. I mean, I go out and people that knew me before are kind of just like really they've changed a little bit towards me. They're a lot more endearing all the time, and then strangers that'll recognize me kind of treat me that way. And it's weird. It's a little bit weird. It's funny to me at times. My girlfriend, definitely makes fun of me a lot. It keeps me grounded. So there's that. But you still have the same problems, and they just get amplified. So you just take it with a grain of salt, smile, keep moving. You have your bad days. Everyone has them. You just keep going.
Most heavyweights, they float under the 265-pound limit, but you cut weight to make the limit.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a true heavyweight compared to the guys fighting at 225?
Oh, definitely. And anything can be a true heavyweight. Some guys walk around at 250, some guys walk around at 220. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just a different type of athlete. I do cut down to 285. Out of camp, when before I get in fight camp, I'm usually around 305. After this last fight, I got up to 305, and I was at, I believe, 21% body fat at 305, and my trainer was pissed. He put me on a really strict diet and cut out my drinking, which is very near and dear to my heart. So right now I'm walking around at I was 283 this morning, and then after my workouts, obviously I drank a lot of water, so I was up to about 289 after a gallon of water. So it's but I'd rather be that way than hydrated and then just dehydrate the last part out than dehydrate 30 pounds out. So it's each fight camp is a very strict process. It's 8 to 10 weeks of very strict dieting, calorie restriction, carb cycling, everything.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing it in a very professional way. Of course, nobody likes cutting weight. With all of this talk about adding, a 165-pound weight class to the UFC, would you be really interested in having a super heavyweight division added?
Yeah, man, that would be great. Because that means I can fight more often. The only thing holding me back from fighting every month is that weight cut. I can't. My natural body weight, like if I'm working out consistently, is 285. Like if I'm working out hard, like I am now, 2 or 3 times a day, super intense sessions, 6 days a week, and then on my off day, just doing a light 3-mile run or something. I'm gonna walk around fluctuating between 282 and 288. Now, if I'm working out 2 or 3 times a week, then I'm gonna walk around at about 290, 295. And if I'm just partying, then I'm walking around at 305. So now we have to be able to. I'm gonna have to keep working out, year round to stay in that 285 to 290 range, so I can take a short notice fight. And as long as I have 2 weeks notice, from 290, I can make that.
Yeah, the UFC heavyweight division, I think any heavyweight division, 2 fights, 3 fights could change your life. You saw it with,
Right.
A few fighters in the UFC recently. Do you see yourself changing your life in a 3-fight, 2-fight span?
I do see that happening for me, from a monetary standpoint, at least. Honestly, being in the UFC hasn't really changed my life a whole lot. It's a goal that I've accomplished. It's changed my standing and my status of people in this community. But But most guys off the street don't recognize me as a celebrity. Even if I do win 2 or 3 fights, get some highlight reel knockouts, it might change that. But the most thing I see it as, just securing a way of life, securing a certain quality of life, and then it would enable me to, do other things and help other people the way that I was helped to get here.
I think with the new ESPN deal going into effect next year, and you have a couple
Yeah.
fights on ESPN, and you get on SportsCenter, I think your life could change quickly.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, one thing I will say is the girls, man. It's been crazy. Luckily, I didn't capitalize as much as I could have since I met my girlfriend like a couple months after my fight, or a month or two after my fight. So that was but before that, it was definitely wild.
Yeah, I saw that you conducted a survey on Twitter over the summer, and the people asked for Chris De La Rocha for your promotional debut. Was the UFC creeping on your social media? Or how did this matchup manifest?
It's actually really funny. People kept asking me, "When are you gonna fight? When are you gonna fight?" And I was getting annoyed by it. So I kept tagging Mick Maynard in my stuff because I'm in the UFC now, and he lives in Houston. So I would just tag him every now and then and just mess with him. And finally, I think the boiling point was people kept asking me for like 3 weeks straight, and I was like, you know what? Just go bug Dana, go spam Dana, Mick, and the UFC, and maybe it'll happen. And Mick messaged me. He was like, I do not respond to social media requests for fights. So then I had my manager message him, and my manager texted him, called him. We made a few calls, and a few days later, Chris De La Rocha popped up. So we had said that name a couple of times. I said, what about this guy? Because it got to a point where I was just like tagging every heavyweight, like, hey, I'll fight him, I'll fight him, I'll fight him. I don't care. So luckily, we threw a name out there once we had Mick's attention, and went from there.
What are your thoughts on De La Rocha's skill set?
I mean, you have to respect his skill set to a certain degree. He is in the UFC. I just think everywhere he's at, I'm better. And that's all there really is to it. I don't want to disrespect him too much, but it's just the fact of the matter is, I'm undefeated and he's not, and I land more strikes per minute. I absorb fewer strikes per minute. I get more takedowns. I've never been taken down. I've never been put on my back, on my butt, or on my hip or anything. So I just think every area that he claims to be good at, I'm better.
How would you describe your fighting style?
Oh, man. One word would just be wow. The rest of it, it's really hard to explain. I am definitely a stalking type of fighter. I move forward a lot, but I also incorporate a lot of lateral movement. And my fighting style isn't really set yet because I've had so few fights. I'm growing and changing every fight. So I do identify as a grappler mostly, and I feel like the fear of my grappling really opens up my striking game. And as I get more and more confident in it, I'm only going to get better. So right now, I call myself a wrestle boxer. It's more like a wrestle boxing type style. But, who knows? 3 or 4 fights down the line, you might see me throwing some Yair Rodriguez type stuff. I watch all the highlights. So,
You're still young, and you mentioned earlier you train 3 times a day, so you're always upgrading your computer, right? Your mind, your body. Is it more fun? Is it a lot of fun for you right now that since you're so young and you're elevating yourself every day?
That is fun. It's fun seeing the results. The work is never fun. And in my mind, I do enjoy working out. I do enjoy that process. I enjoy learning, but it's gonna be a struggle. It's always a struggle. There's days definitely that I wake up. I don't like taking a whole lot of supplements. I just don't. I don't. Even in college, I never really liked taking supplements. I only take a protein isolate now because my calories are so low and I need the nutrients. But so that is hard. You wake up, there's aches and pains every day going out there, but you know, the first time you hit a new move that you've been working on for days, weeks, months, it's super rewarding. There's nothing else really quite like it.
You know, a lot of the guys in the heavyweight division are probably keeping an eye on you because they saw your performance on the Contender series. You're still young and they might pick at your flaws.
Yeah.
Not having displayed your full potential, do you see that as a big advantage going into every fight coming up?
So yeah, I do see that as an advantage because you know, my coaches know my flaws. Every fight, they're the first ones to tell me. Literally, I'll be backstage for a minute and they're like, "Good win, but this is what you should have done differently. This is what you could have done. We're not going to dwell on the bad right now, but just know you get 2 weeks off and we're back to work." So it's that it is beneficial for that, and I also am grateful that I have coaches and cornermen that recognize my flaws before I do because I don't want to have a whole lot of them to exploit. I don't like getting hit. Like nobody likes getting hit, so it is a huge bonus because if you look at my fights from amateur all the way up to pro, no two fights are the same, and they all look different. I display a different skill set each time, and though they all end the same way, how I get to that end point is different in every fight. So I do like that, and if they're trying to game plan for me, you know, I don't have the same game plan going into fights. I always want to try something different, and I'm also not displaying my full skill set each fight. You know, for as of right now, all I've shown really is a jab and a cross and wrestling. Like that's it.
All right, last question before I let you go. What do you bring to the UFC heavyweight division that is always looking for a star?
Oh man, I definitely bring the social media presence. I'm a pretty open book on there. I'm very interactive with fans. You know, I've been told I'm funny. You know, and I definitely think I'm better looking than most of the heavyweights in this division from an aesthetic standpoint. And I would just bring a new level of athletic ability that I don't think the heavyweight division's ever seen before and might not ever see again. So.
All right, December 15th, Juan Adams will make his promotional debut UFC on Fox 31 versus Chris De La Rocha. Thank you, Juan, for your time, and good luck on your fight, man.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You do.